underwater.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Now look here, Chris is back home now. He cannot wait to get up on the block and talk to all of his gangster family members and see what they've been doing this summer. You know what I'm saying? He can't wait to get up there, so he hurry up, rushes into the house, puts his stuff down, and tries to go outside. But it's almost dark, right? And his mom is telling him, look, you just need to wait till tomorrow to go out there and see your little friends, right? So he comes back in the house reluctantly, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, I just want to go out there and tell him I'm back. And she said, you can see him tomorrow. So he comes back in the house, goes to his room, unpacks his stuff, and his mom fixes him something to eat. And they sit at the table and they talk, and she tells him that, look, that she's doing really well in school, and she doesn't think that she'll need to send him back to the north side next summer. Now, Chris is really happy about that. He's really happy about that because he doesn't have to explain to Sean why he's not going to be back. This is a decision that his mom is making. This is a decision that his mom is making, and he feels some type of relief about it. But she's mainly doing it because he will be older, plus she's starting to believe some of the things that Miss Kathy has told her. Like I said, she knows her child, and she was watching him the whole ride back home. His demeanor was off. He wasn't this happy-go-lucky teenager that liked to play video games and talk about sports and all of this and that. She thought about it and thought that he hadn't asked her to buy him a new video game in forever. He hadn't asked her to buy him a new pair of sneakers that was coming out in forever. And she started to look at him, and she sees that there's something different about him. She really takes a hard look at him, and she sees that he's not the same person. So she tries everything she can when she's talking to him and to ask him, to tell him, to make sure that he understands that she loves him and she's there, and that he doesn't have to go searching for that part of him that's missing because of the absence of his father. He doesn't have to go do that. She wants him to understand that she's enough for both of them. But Chris can't get that. Can't get that. And that's a common problem when you have single parents, having to be both parents to the child. It's hard to do. And it's not that the parent that is there doesn't want the benefit of the other parent being there with them. Life happens. And she can see how this is affecting her child. Just like the millions of other parents out there, they can see how the absence of one of the parents is affecting their child. She sees it. And she gets up and she takes his plate because he's finished eating. She puts it in the sink, and as she runs the water over it, he walks over to her and she gives him a hug. And she can tell by the way that he's squeezing her and he's holding her that he's got something he wants to say. He's got something that he wants to unburden himself of. But he just doesn't do it. And that is because these two competing ideologies that he's so readily taken on, they're starting to cause him to change. They're starting to cause him to filter his actions through what he's learned from them. And it's interfering with him being an honest person. It's interfering with him being the type of person that his mother was raising him to be. But he don't know that. He don't know what's going on. You can't see yourself, y'all. Even when you look in the mirror, you can't see yourself. You can't see what the people around you can see in you and on you. So when he looks at himself in the mirror, and his eyes water up because he wants to cry. He can't understand at 14 what's changing about me. What is going on with me? Because this is what happens to all of us. At some point in time in our lives, we turn left when we should have went right. But we don't understand the influence, the outside influences that are at play. Excuse me, y'all. We don't understand the outside influences that are at play that interfere with that. And it causes us to become a different person. And before you know it, we've done something crazy. We've done something stupid. But that's how it happens. That's how you become a person that will lie, deceive your own parents, or your grandparents, or your brother, or your sister, or your cousins. That's how you become a person that will step out there in the streets, sell drugs, run drugs, rob, steal, kill. He's on that path of becoming a hardened criminal at a very young age. All because Sean wanted to become a leader in the organization he's in. He's manipulated Chris's mind. And now Chris, filtering everything through what he learned, he goes further and thinks that he can handle becoming a gangster on top of being a vice lord. He's all the way in. So the next day, he gets back up on the block. You know, he's still got a couple of weeks before they go back to school. He gets back up on the block, and when I say the block, it's right there in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? He's not going too far. He gets back up on the block, and he's meeting all his friends again. You know, they talking and kicking, and he's sharing with them what he did during the summer and all of these different types of things, right? And what happens is something that had never happened before, because the first summer that he went, he wasn't a gangster when he came back, but now he is. And so they're starting to ask questions because they know what's on the north side. They said, who did you meet out there? What's going on with those vice lords out there? Did you see any of them? Did you talk to them? Did you smash on them? They're asking all these questions because you got to remember, all of them are young teenagers, right? But in his mind, he's thinking, has she said something? Do they know? Why are they asking me all of these questions? And they see that on his face that he's looking nervous. They're like, what's wrong with you, Chris? We just asking you, how was your summer? What went on out there? You know, that's vice lord country where you went. Now he's looking at them as if they were stupid and blind and not know that the north side is vice lord's country. See, in his mind, he ain't calculating all of these moves. He's a child. And he hadn't been living that lifestyle long enough to know that everything you do, every move you make, it counts for something. So when he told them that he was going on the north side for the summer, they automatically knew, oh, you're going into the lion's den. So of course they would have questions when he got back. Of course they would ask him what's going on with him. Of course they would do that. But he doesn't get it. So they continue to ask him questions, and slowly but surely, his mind starts to formulate what he should be saying and how he can maintain his cover in doing it. And he tells me, he said, man, I stayed in the house mostly. I didn't really kick it with him. He said, when I did, I went to the park. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at them. They don't vibe like us. They don't move like gangsters. He's telling them all of this, and they eating it up. Like, yeah, that's what's up, folks. That's what's up. That's that. They doing all of it. They sucking it up. And he sees that it's easy to persuade them or manipulate them and play puppeteer with them just by telling them a story. Making it up as he goes. What is he doing? Don't he know? Don't he understand? No, he does not. See, this will only work with the young ones. This will only work with the young ones. So a few days later, the BM that knows his pops, he drops in on him. He's just coming down to see what's going on with him because he knows that Chris spent the summer on the north side. So now when he asked Chris, how was your summer? he tells them the same little story that he told the younger gangsters. So the BM, he's looking at him, scrutinizing him. He said, oh, you stayed in the house most of the time. He said, I don't know any 14-year-old that'll stay in the house most of the summer, especially when it's been nice out. Now Chris looks at him, he don't know what to say. Because this man is the age of Chris's father. This man is the age of Chris's father. So he knows that Chris is being evasive. He's got kids himself. And ain't no kids back in the day staying in the house during no summer. Not gonna happen. So now he's thinking that Chris has got something to hide. So he said, how you been doing, man? You good? Chris looks at him and said, yeah. He said, okay. He said, look, I'm just coming to check on you, man. See how you doing, see how your summer was, you know. But he said, you act like you got something to tell me. He just took a shot in the dark to see if Chris would open up to him. And he was like, nah, not really. He said, you sure? Now Chris got spooked. His alarm bells went off. He's thinking, oh man, wait a minute. Does he know? Does he know what's going on with me? And he's thinking about that girl again. See, he's paranoid. See, the mind will get you like that. The mind is a powerful thing. And if you don't have control over your mind will have control over you. And he's a 14-year-old trying to juggle all this stuff, thinking he's down and he know what's going on. There's no way that he can outsmart this BM. This brother's been there, done that. And he just don't want to be found out. Chris is trying to keep that secret on lock because he's starting to understand how serious it could be. Even though the young lady that he met in the park when he was on the north side has no clue of what he's got going on, just the idea of her knowing scared him. And he's seen how these gangsters get down. He's seen and heard the stories when they go to put in work. He hasn't done anything yet. Not yet. And he most definitely didn't want to be on the other end of a violation. Now, he's seen some brothers get put in violation, and it wasn't pretty. They beat the crap out of him. And he didn't want to find himself on that. He didn't want to find himself getting beat. So the BM leaves. And he tells him, he said, look, take care of yourself. I'll check back in on you in another week or so. See how you've been doing. Chris tells him, okay, you be good. I'll holler back. You know what I'm saying? So they look at each other like gangsters do. And he said, plenty much love. Chris looks back at him. It's never too much. They shake hands. They part ways. Chris stands there thinking, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. I respect him too much. And he's the key to me finding out where my father's at. I have to do right by him. He's starting to feel guilt, shame about what he's doing. He spent the summer on the north side with Sean, being lied to every day about trying to find his father. If it was one excuse, it was another. Every day it was something. I heard this, I heard that. He didn't believe anything that Sean had told him. Sean didn't know anything about his father. He was just using that to get Chris to pull back closer to him. That's it. But he knew the gangsters knew more than what they were saying. He knew that they knew something about his father, where he might be. Nobody just falls off the earth and disappears. How could they be so sure that he wasn't dead but not know where he was at? Both can't be true. Both can't be true. If you know he's not dead, then that means you know something about his whereabouts. Right? And if you know his whereabouts, then you know he's not dead. That's just what it is. So now he's on him. And every day he's asking questions about his dad. He's learning more about his dad. And everybody's always telling him, you look just like him. You act like him. You talk like him. And he's starting to feel himself. But, you know, his daddy wasn't a gangster, though. And he wonders, why wasn't his daddy not a gangster? Why was he not a gangster? So he said the next time he sees the BM, he's going to ask him, why was my daddy not a gangster? Because if the BM was friends with him, why didn't he ask him to join? Why didn't he take the ride with him? So the summer is dead and gone. It's time to get back into school. And when he gets back into school, everything is moving faster. You know, he meets and sees this girl that he met in the park when he was on the north side. He starts to talk and kick it with her. And she's noticing the change. It's like, you know, she said, you like a light switch. That's what she told him. You're like a light switch. You turn off and on. She said, when you were out there on the north side, you acted one way. Now, she said, you're over here on the south side and you acted another way. And he said, well, I got to fit in wherever I'm at. And she looks at him. She said, yeah, I guess so. But she said, who are you really? Who are you really? And she asked that question because she liked him. She wasn't suspicious about was he this or that and trying to get him in trouble or anything like that. But his mind played tricks on him because he's paranoid. He's got a lot of stuff to hide, so he can't even take an innocent inquiry about how he's acting without being suspicious that she's trying to find out something on him so she can tell it to the people. See, that's how we get. When we guilty of something, somebody be talking to you. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You done something you ain't got no business. Then somebody asks you an innocent question, right? And you take it there because you think they know something about what you've been doing. They don't know nothing. They ain't thinking about you like that. And that's how she was with Chris. She wasn't thinking about him like that. All she knew is that he acted different when she saw him in the park than the way he's acted now. And she just wanted to know, who are you? She's trying to get to know him better. She's a teenager. She liked him. So here we are talking. They just sitting there kicking it. And he's starting to dig her too. And now he's meeting her every day for lunch and they're talking. And his brothers, his gangster brothers are coming by and they're introducing themselves and they're like, oh, okay then, this your queen right here? And he would never answer that question. So one day, after about a month or so, she asked him, after they had come and left, am I your queen? And he looked at her, he said, do you want to be my queen? And she's like, yeah, if you ask me, you got to ask me first. So he asked her, just like little kids do. You want to be my girlfriend? And then she said, I thought I was going to be your queen. And then he said, you are going to be my queen. And she said, well, don't ask me to be your girlfriend. Ask me to be your queen. He said, you want to be my queen? She said, I guess so. And in that moment, they became a couple. She leaned over and she kissed him. He kissed her back. First time he ever kissed a woman other than his mother. And he was instantly smitten, as they say. In love, as they say. Throwed off, as they say. He was crazy about her. Crazy, crazy, crazy about her. Because it was something about her that he had never experienced in his life. You remember that first time? Do y'all remember the first time that you really felt, I ain't talking about no sex or nothing, y'all. I'm talking about that first time you felt emotions in your gut about somebody that you liked. Felt good, didn't it? Felt good. You just didn't know no better how scary it was going to be because it don't stay that way all the time. But that's the beauty of it. Love is about growing, maturing. And you got to go through some things to grow, right? Ups and downs and all this and that. But you don't understand what that really means when you start to have these feelings for somebody. You know, the relationship between a parent and a child, that love is grown because, you know, the parent nurtures the child, holds them, feeds them, changes them, does all these things with them, spend time with them. Most of the time, you know, when the child is little bitty, the first face that they see in the morning and the last face they see at night is the face of the parent. And they look and they come to depend on the parent. They come to depend on them. And now he was feeling something that was similar to that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He was feeling something that was similar to that, but it was different. This made his body react in a way that it didn't react for his mother. He wanted to be with her. He wanted to be around her. He wanted to hold her. He wanted to kiss on her. He wanted to experience everything that meant, that he understood that it meant anyway at that age. He really enjoyed spending time with her. But it was a part of him that he could not disclose to her. And she felt it, because she felt the same way about him. And she knew it was something that he was keeping from her. Some part of him that he was hiding from her. And she wanted to know what it was. You know how a woman, even a young woman, you know how, well, look, once a woman gets her mindset on finding out something, she is going to find it out. I don't care what you think. And she ain't going to care about what it is she got to do to get that information. She going to get that information one way or the other. She going to try to fancy it out of you, get you to talk about it when you don't want to talk about it. She going to nag you. She going to caress you. She going to figure out how to push your button to get you to come on with the come on. And it's just no way around it. But Chris had become this seasoned liar. He had become this seasoned liar. But see, I'm going to tell you something. Something that happens to you when you start to have feelings for somebody. You'll have those days that can stretch into months where you lower your guard. And they get to see the real you. And they get to see what buttons you have and how to push those buttons. How to get you to act this way or act that way. Women are masters at it. And any man that is honest knows I'm telling the truth. When a woman gets to know you, listen to me, let me say it again. When a woman gets to know you, I'm talking about you, not the picture that you're presenting. You. She knows how to move you. She knows how to soothe you. She knows how to love you. When she learns that, there's nothing that you can hold back. You will want to tell her. And you'll be afraid in a lot of instances because you might have something that is embarrassing or shameful. You know what I'm saying? Something that you're not proud of to share. But a woman that cares about you, she will get you to share that. And this is what this girl was going to do. She was on it. And Chris was fighting with himself. He going home at night trying to like walking in back and forth in his room, pacing the floor. Like, I want to tell her, but I can't. If I tell her, ain't no telling what she's going to think of me. He's not thinking about what could happen to him. He's thinking about what she's going to think about it because he's in love with her. And then his mom has met her. She likes her. And she's telling her, you treat her right. You don't mistreat her. You treat her like the queen that you say she is to you. And his mom has been schooling him on what that means. Respect her. No means no. Don't force her to do anything. You feel me? Let her make up her own mind. Let her have her independence. Because she didn't get it from you, you can't take it from her. She's telling him all of these types of things that she wants her son to be in a relationship. Because she wants him to be one of those brothers that is positive and constructive and not depending on the woman for his self-esteem and the woman depending on him for her self-esteem. She doesn't want him to be a domineering, abusive person, mentally or physically. So she's doing the best she can to school him so that he'll know how to treat a young lady, no matter what. So he's struggling with all of the things that he's trying to balance. He's part of the vice lords, he's part of the gangsters. He's fallen in love. He wants to be honest, but his filter is all about dishonesty. He's trying to figure out, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I do and where do I go? He's lost. And that's what the lifestyle will do to you. Everything that you do is filtered through that. So now he's trying to figure out, how do I free myself so I can just be in this relationship the way I want to be in this relationship? He's lost, y'all. He don't know what to do. So time is going by. He's enjoying, he's spending time with his gangsters. He's still calling Sean every now and then, but he's not calling him every day. But he's still calling him, giving him updates. He's trying to be everything to everybody, except what he needs to be for himself. And it's about to catch up with him. It's about to catch up with him, y'all. But he don't know what to do and how to get out of this. But it's coming. It's coming. A day of reckoning is coming for Chris. He's going to have to decide where he stands. He's going to have to decide where he stands. And once he makes that stand, he's going to have to deal with what's going to come after that. And you're going to have to come back to the next episode to find out where Chris stands. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all. I've been trying to breathe underwater.